I believe sales is not about selling. Sales is about solving problems, right? I'm personalizing it. I'm trying to build trust. I'm trying to build credibility. I'm trying to, have a sense of appreciation for what the company and the person is doing. It's more of engagement and building trust and credibility per se on that. An outcome of that will be selling. So, irrespective of whether you are a sales professional or whether you are aspiring to be in sales, I personally believe that social selling is a key skill, which will help you differentiate yourself, right, and help you be successful in your professional journey. And when I look at social selling, right, one thing which I've realized is that it has an art side to it because you have to be creative, right? You have to think out of the box, but it also is a science. When I mean by science, that there is a process, right? There is a rhythm to it. Once you kind of get used to trying it over a period of time, you start to perfect that process. And hence I keep saying that it's an art and a science. And it's quite experiential, and it's quite amazing when you start getting used to social selling, and when the results start to come out, that's when you realize the true power of social selling, and you kind of start to adapt it in addition to any other selling mechanism which you would otherwise also be having, right, as part of your key skills, right? I wanted to share with everybody what got me to social selling. This is way back in 2007. I had just graduated from my B school, and I was part of the business development team at Infosys, right? And out there, the mandate which I had was, can we help identify the kind of enterprises, whom Infosys BPO could go and, pitch our outsourcing solutions, right? Now, the question is, we know what solutions we have, we know what problems we could solve for, but how do we identify who the stakeholders out there are, right? And I realized that, okay, there is a website. The website would have the CEO and maybe the one downs below them, right? But it's very difficult to kind of get started your first conversation with just them, right? So it always is helpful that if you're able to get a little bigger picture of a client's org, right? And this is where, if you ask me, that is when I realized, okay, we will need to be a little innovative beyond how we do sales. And that was also incidentally the time that one of my friends, a very close friend of mine, who introduced me that, Adi, if you are in sales, have you, yeah, I mean, it wasn't called social selling at that point in time, but, he introduced me to something called, he said, have you heard of this platform called LinkedIn? It's a platform where, professionals are all over there and they are networking and they are connecting. And maybe for the kind of work which you need to do, maybe it's a great platform because you could see who or other people are there in different companies, and maybe there is a way for you to connect, and maybe because people put details about them, so you might have or more information about them, about their interest, where they graduated from, which all companies have they worked with, and any other aspects which they put on their profiles, which can possibly help you get more details, right? They could be listing down their KRAs, what matters to them, what are their roles and responsibilities. Those things could also be there, so that when you reach out to them from a business development perspective, you have a better chance of striking a conversation which is warm, which is relevant to them, and that could lead to a deal. First thing, right? What is social selling, and what social selling is not, right? It's very important for us to kind of understand that. When we look at social selling, right, it's a medium, it's an additional medium, right, for us to be able to connect to the people whom we want to engage with, right, whose problems we want to solve for, with whom we want to build deeper partnerships, right, and engage these people, right. And these engagements can even happen even before we physically meet them face to face, right? So we could start engaging with people online, and over a period of time build that trust and credibility that they are open to us to meet in person, and that could lead to an opportunity or a partnership for both the organizations, right? And what is it not, right? What I believe social selling is not is spamming people. It's not about we take a template and we just send it out to 1,000 different people, expecting people to reply to them. Because what happens is, like you and me, they as well, whom we want to reach out to, will be able to see through those templates and will be able to understand, okay, this person must have customized, so this must be some templatized things, or that kind of a bot kind of a thing which should have come, right? So the more personalization, the more contextualized we do, right, that will help you get better results of the social selling. So just wanted to call out, right, what it is and what it isn't, so that it just helps you understand that, okay, if I've been doing it the other way and it has not been working, so why didn't it work? Because maybe what I was doing was not social selling. And if you've been doing it in a particular way and it has been giving you results, then you know that you've been in the right direction, and yes, that it has been social selling, right? Now, coming back to one of my favorite platforms and my previous company, this organization, LinkedIn, right, where we have now more than 1 billion professionals, right, is responsible for essentially where I tasted blood, if I can say that, right, while getting used to social selling. And this stays to be the platform of choice for me for social selling, right, for the foreseeable future. There is another platform which I also actively use, which is Twitter, which is now called X, also for social selling. But then obviously we will not have 1 billion professionals on Twitter, right? So the scope of people whom we want to reach out to will always be more on LinkedIn, and hence it is a preferred platform for me to reach out to a wider audience. One of the most important things which I have focused on from the early days, and I continue to focus on, is that if I have to reach out to anybody, and most likely this person whom I would be reaching out to would be somebody who I would have not worked with in the past, who may not know who I am, who may not even know the company I work for, right? Why should that person even accept my connection request, right? Why should that person even bother to reply to my message? I believe the foundation of that starts off with your professional brand. How complete, how detailed is your LinkedIn profile, right? Because what happens is, when you reach out to any person, the first thing which people are going to do is click on your photo or your name, most likely after reading a message, just to see who you are, where do you work, what do you do, what do you solve for, right? And anything else they may be keen to. Now, when they do that, and if your profile doesn't have that completeness, the profile doesn't have the richness, the profile is not giving a flavor of what are you exactly solving for, what happens is the person may or may not choose to reply to you. But if the profile is, is crisp, if the profile seems to be mentioning a lot of things which matter to them, there is a high likelihood that the customer would feel that, okay, this seems to be a person uh, I could have a conversation on. And obviously it will also depend on the messaging which you have sent to the person. But what I always emphasize on, the first step of getting started with social selling is building your professional brand, which essentially means ensuring that your LinkedIn profile is up to date. It has all possible details you can put out there. And more likely, instead of it being more selling oriented, if it can be more problem solving oriented, right? For example, what is that in this role your company or you try and do and solve for, so that when the customer also looks at your profile, they're able to get a perspective of, okay, this person, if I have to talk to it, it would be with respect to this context, because these are the kind of things they've written on their profile, so most likely these are the things they will solve for. So even because they haven't had a conversation with you, right, but they want to make a decision on whether they should say yes to you or no to you for having a conversation. So the more details you're able to put on your profiles, which makes it simpler for them to understand, the better the chances that they would go ahead and reply to your outreach, right, and would want to spend time with you. The other thing is, I always believe that before engaging prospects and customers, right, it's always good to spend time doing a lot of research, not just about the person whom you want to reach out to, but the industry in which they work, the companies in which they work. So one of the things which I follow is I subscribe to the companies which would be potential customers for my team or me to go after. I would also be subscribing to business newsletters or publications which I feel will enrich me with the kind of content which is required for me to have those kind of conversations with those prospects, right? So social selling is also about engaging prospects and customers with conversations which are which they can also associate with, which matter to them, right? And for you to gain that kind of knowledge and perspective, obviously you would get that while you're on the field, while you're talking to customers and all, but a lot of perspective also comes from the fields and other things, right? And the reason I have specifically pulled out these companies and publications out there is just to demonstrate like an example, like a scenario kind of a thing. Just imagine if ClearTip is a customer which I have to manage, right? And my aspiration is, let's say, as a salesperson, is always at the end to reach out to the highest possible, the senior most person in the organization, right? Obviously there are people across levels whom you can engage with and who would be, let's say, your spokes or people whom you would partner with. But I always believe that if you really want to elevate your sales skills, then you should have connections right at the top across your organizations, right? Your CEO, their CEO, or something like that, right? But for that to happen, right, how would that happen? So you would have to somewhere build that trust and connections for that person to even acknowledge that they would like to meet you. Yesterday I saw an update which came up on LinkedIn, right, which spoke about the CEO of ClearTrip, who was sitting across desks of contact center executives, listening to calls, trying to understand how they talk to their customers. And obviously they're focusing on being a customer first, customer experience kind of a company, right? My aspiration, obviously, if this is my customer, would be to have an audience with Ayappan at some point in time, perhaps with my CEO and the ClearTip CEO talking together and discussing how we can, help and solve for things at ClearTip's end. So I understand that if I, I mean, obviously, if I reach out to just Ayappan's often directly, he may not necessarily, give us an audience. So what I've been, what I tried to do is just trying to warm him up, right? So yesterday I just dropped him this particular message, just that, right? I'm not saying who I am. I'm not asking for time for Rocketium. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm just trying to call it out that, that this initiative of his, I'm kind of inspired about it. And, I look forward to the world having more leaders about it, right? Perhaps I'll do a few of these interactions over him over the let's say a 2 or 3 months period. And maybe by then, perhaps, because he would have seen a few of my messages come in, he might have a recall of me, right, as an individual, and perhaps where the company I work, in case he's, clicks on my profile. At that point in time, or if in case I happen to be lucky and I get a reply of this, maybe I could even request him for wanting to have an audience, wanting to know more about what he's trying to do and shape business. And in that conversation, maybe there could be an opportunity to talk about how we could partner as well, right? But as you see, I'm not leading with that, right? I'm personalizing it. I'm trying to build trust. I'm trying to build credibility. I'm trying to, have a sense of appreciation for what the company and the person is doing. And over a period, we'll take it into these things. What I'm also trying to say is that, again, right, it's not spamming. It's not, just writing random things to some people. You're kind of putting a lot of focus and effort and then trying to reach out to people. The other thing is, for example, I'll show you, wanted to share with you is this is one of the customers which I had managed sometime in the past, which is BirlaSoft. And while we were working, I was at LinkedIn at one point in time, and we were working with the CHRO's office. But I felt that from a LinkedIn perspective, I felt that if we talk to the people in the COO org, right, the delivery leaders, right, there's a better thing, because for them, people, hiring people, reskilling people, intelligence on where to open a new office, and all of those things matter, right? And I wanted to reach out to this person, and one of the ways of me to do that was, I said, I don't. I know who this person is, but I don't have the person's email ID or any of those things. So how do I reach out to? So I took help, right, from the EA of the CHRO, whose name is mentioned here, right? And I said that, ma'am, what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and reach out to him on LinkedIn, right? And I'll see that, in case, he agrees to kind of have a chat with me. I'll also obviously tell him that, who are the people, leaders at, so Samit was the CHRO, Melissa was the CMO of BitlaSoft at that point in time. These are the leaders who are there. And I would love to see if in case there is a chance of having met him. And in case he says yes, then I will coordinate with you and try to set up time, right? So she said, fine, Adi, I think I like that approach. Just do that. And he's generally active on LinkedIn. So there is a high likelihood that he might respond to you. So I sent out this message, hoping that he would reply. And and to my pleasant surprise, he did, right? He did. That Gurpreet also mentioned to me that he would be reaching out to me on via LinkedIn, and that he would want us to connect and all. And that we can kind of coordinate and we can look at, right? And this is not even the person or the persona whom I'm selling LinkedIn to, right? It was the CHRO and the CMO. But I felt if I go to the COO, it just helps build a better proposition, or we can deliver better outcomes for builders of if we are talking across the board, right? That was my objective. And I'm sure you must be wondering what exactly happened after this, right? I mean, writing is one thing, him saying is one thing, but did these people actually even meet, not meet? What happened, right? This is in front of you. He did come to the office. He did come to the LinkedIn office in Bombay. We met in person in our office, had a 2-hour meeting where we spoke about understood his priorities, his perspectives. He wanted to understand what we do for Buildersoft today, what more we could do. And after that, we took this picture and posted out there, right? So again, one of the things which I'm trying to showcase now is that you personalize, then you also let the world know. A lot of salespeople I have seen are shy of putting, pictures with their customers on LinkedIn, right? Believe me, I've been doing that since 2015, right? And I have not looked back. I believe that if your customers and you have a great partnership going, they like it if you take pictures together. They like it if you post on LinkedIn. They like the world to know that the two organizations are partnering. Most of the times we feel, I don't know if I should ask, I'm shy, I actually don't post on LinkedIn myself. What if the customer says no? Whether it's the right thing to do or not to do, those kind of things. But in my experience, right, since 2015, it's almost 8 years of going, meeting customers, and after the meeting taking pictures with them, posting on LinkedIn. I have only seen benefit and benefit and benefit and benefit of it in terms of being able to build my professional brand, build LinkedIn's brand. Now I'm trying to build Rocket's brand in a similar manner, and obviously, being able to showcase yourself as a thought leader, right? So this is essentially one of the examples which I wanted to showcase of how social selling can lead to results. And obviously, as a result of this, we were able to scale up our engagement with Buildersoft. We had a bigger partnership in terms of dollar values and the value which we were able to deliver to the customer, right? So all of this led to that. The other example which I'm sharing with you is of me recently joining Rocketium. Now, obviously, when I joined Rocketium, I'm kind of selling to a new persona in that sense, because for the last 9 years, I was primarily selling to the CHROs. Yes, they were CMOs, but not in every account or to that depth, right? But here, the primary persona whom I have to engage and sell to or show value to are the CMOs or the marketing heads, right? So again, I've kind of started that perspective of reaching out to them. But if you see, the way I'm trying to reach out to them is very different, right? Just a very basic overview, one-liner overview of my company, right? What it does, like Rocketeam. But more than that, I'm focusing on the outcomes which the client can expect, that we can deliver, right? See, because the whole point is, I believe sales is not about selling. Sales is about solving problems, right? And if in this case, I perceive that the marketeer's problems, which I can solve for, is can they get to the market faster, right? Can they help increase revenue for their company? Can they bring efficiencies and reduce costs for the company, right? No, I believe that these are the primary key areas. There may be more. As I interact more with the CMOs, I'll get a lot more understanding and depth of what really matters to them, and maybe my personalization, my messaging would get fine-tuned. But to the extent what I've been able to understand in my limited time at Rocket Team so far, I believe that these are perhaps few of the things which are important to them, and hence I'm reaching out to the leaders who matter through this. And I reached out to them. The person reached out also shared that yes, there is focus on AI. It has become center stage. He would want to catch up. I asked for his official email ID. He has shared an official email ID, and we will be speaking in a couple of weeks time, right? So again, as you see, reaching out to people, and we don't have to write like long mails to get people's attention. It can be just crisp to the point, because people are going to be especially leaders are going to be seeing your message on mobiles, right? One screen, two screen. Nobody has the time to go through third screen, fourth scroll, right? So you want to put as much messaging as possible in as brief as possible. The problem which you're solving for, don't focus too much on the company, right? Focus on what your company solves for, what you can solve for that customer. That is the main thing, right? The company, because the what your company name is and other things that really don't matter to them, right? So focus on the solutioning part, if I may say, or the solving part and the business outcomes part, and that will lead you to better results. Other thing which is there is sharing a lot of content, right? See, what happens is, first of all, connect with your customers, right? A lot of times we meet people, but we don't necessarily, maybe miss out on connecting with people. I've always believed that if I have met somebody, that person has to be my LinkedIn connection, period. There is no reason why the two of us will not be connected on LinkedIn if I have met that person. Sometimes I reach out to person even before meeting saying, while we haven't met, but this is who I am, and we work with your organizations, and sending a connection request to you. Look forward to speaking with sometime soon, right? Just that, right? No sales pitch, nothing like that, right? Just like that. But the whole point is to build that network of people. The whole point is because when you have a network of people, then slowly and steadily you engage them with content, right? So when I was with LinkedIn, I was sharing a lot of content around what LinkedIn was posting, right? Blogs or case studies or thought leadership articles. Plus, there were other articles coming from NASCOM, People Matters, which are very specific to, HR and HR tech and those kind of things, right? And I would share those. Since I've come to Rocket Team, I'm sharing a lot of content which Rocket Team is putting across. We're putting beautiful blogs out there, a lot of content, context, right? Problems which we're trying to solve for. So now I'm putting that because now my persona is the CMO persona. So I want to engage the CMOs or the marketing people in my network. So sharing a lot of this content on a regular basis so that, I warm them up to the kind of things we can solve for and other things. And eventually it could lead to us connecting and, obviously scaling up business and all of those things, right? But engage people, and you would find content everywhere. So all of you, if you're working for your respective companies, your companies themselves on LinkedIn would be posting updates. You can go to your company's site. There will be case studies. There will be so many news articles and all which would be there. Just take that effort to put it out, put it on LinkedIn or Twitter, right? And just let people know. You can even I have at times in the past, right, with customers whom I had really great connections, I would even share those articles on WhatsApp also. For example, and this is a new report which has come up, I thought you'll find it interesting, so sharing a copy of this with you on WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp also is a channel which I've kind of leveraged effectively in terms of building connect, building credibility, building trust, right? All of that translates to social selling also at the end of the day. But that is what I've kind of focused on, right? So I would strongly urge that each of you take time to go through your company site, follow your company, see all the news articles and other things which come up across. Look at third-party channels as well, right? So if you're in IT sales, look at follow NASCOM as a channel. Every 2 weeks or so, NASCOM publishes reports. Generally, one report in a month is free for you to download. You don't even have to pay for it, right? You can then put that report out there on this thing. You can put your own thoughts also or summary or something, and you can put it on LinkedIn, right? If you're in some other industry, then there are obviously publications which will be very specific to that industry. Like example in HR, SHRM or People Matters, they'll be putting a lot of content out there. So similarly, pick up those content from multiple places, your own company, public news articles, thought leadership articles, let's say World Economic Forum or something like that, right? Depending on which industry you belong to, Gartner, Forrester, right? And put those out there so that people are able to engage with that content. Other thing is that what I was focusing on, right? One thing which I've never looked back upon and have never been shy of, right? And to the extent that I am now, at least at LinkedIn, was known, my customers would tell me after the meeting, Adi, abhi ye meeting ke baad to aap photo loge na LinkedIn pe dalne ke liye. That is the kind of recall I had been able to build with the customers, where customers were happy to be standing next to me, putting out a photo after we would have met them. And you might ask me, what did it lead to, right? It's okay. I mean, if you're putting a photo, but it multiple things. First of all, it helps the world know that I work with such companies, and in those companies, I work with such people. By the way, the three gentlemen, in these pictures, the first one on the left, that's the CHRO of L&T Group. The one in the middle picture and in the middle is the CHRO of LTI Mindtree. The one on the right is the CHRO of Infosys, right? So you can see the kind of people I've been talking to, interacting with, right? In my previous stint at LinkedIn, and all of them were extremely comfortable in getting clicked and being put across, right? And this has really helped unlock a lot of value professionally for me, because by being able to do that, when I used to reach out to other CHROs, right, I saw that their propensity of saying yes to me for a meeting drastically went up. Why? Because in their network, they will have these other CHROs who would be there, and they're liking and commenting on the picture or the post which I'm putting out there. And those CHROs see that, okay, Adi is talking to all of these people. So if they are taking out time to speak to Adi, that means there must be something valuable which Adi is bringing to the table or solving for, right? So why don't I also speak with Adi, right? So that is how it helped build a ripple effect of building that thought leadership brand, and and people wanting to speak to you. It went to the extent that one of the CHROs of one of the L&T companies actually told me that, having seen Adi all your photos with all these leaders, I believe that LinkedIn is perhaps a management consulting firm, because you're all talking to CHROs, business leaders, CMOs, right? And if you're talking to people across all these personas, and I can see you're doing that because I can see on LinkedIn feed every week, every 2 days, 3 days, you're meeting some CXO. That means that there is definitely a valuable conversation which is happening worth the C-suite. And if that is happening, that means it's like management consulting kind of stuff, right, which is happening. So he said, in my mind, the whole proposition of LinkedIn has increased from just being a hiring platform or a learning platform to perhaps being a platform which can really help us with the business strategy. I said, very kind of you, sir, but that's exactly the place we would want our customers to think of LinkedIn as, right? So that is how it helped elevate not just my personal brand, but the brand of LinkedIn itself in the minds of the customers, right? The other thing is, I wanted to showcase to you some of these insights from 2015, 2016. Remember, at the start of the call, I mentioned to you that the social selling at LinkedIn is something which I didn't just start recently, but I had been doing it from a long period of time. Because when I joined LinkedIn, I realized that while it was a big company globally, but in India, we were still trying to make a mark for ourselves. We were still trying to establish our brand. One of the ways for us to be able to known to a lot more people was by uh, meeting a lot of people, taking pictures with them, tagging them, and letting the world know that we are working with them, right? They share it, they like it, it goes to their network, beyond their companies, other people get to know that LinkedIn is there. It just starts to build a ripple effect, right? And just imagine, it wasn't just me who was doing it. While I might have started this trend, today, if you are connected to people at LinkedIn, or if you are following people at LinkedIn, on LinkedIn, you would see how active they are when it comes to social, social selling. All of them posting pictures with their customers, posting pictures from the events, posting pictures from any opportunity of a client interactions, right? And it's no surprise then that, if you look at LinkedIn today, how well acknowledged and well appreciated and well known brand it has become across organizations, right? One of the reasons for that is, and the primary pillar for that is the concept of social selling. So this would be kind of my my suggestion, my advice to all of you. Don't shy away from asking people when you meet them for pictures and wanting to put that on LinkedIn. Don't shy away from connecting with people, right? Don't shy away from reaching out to people. Make efforts in personalization and customization so that people feel it is a 1:1 communication. I'm sure when you get a lot of, generally, let's say, mails or first time messages, right? You yourself or on LinkedIn, you might yourself be able to realize that, is it a one-on-one message or is just a spam kind of thing, right? I mean, generally those greetings which come on Diwali, right? Some of them are personalized, right? So, because they'll have your name, your spouse's name, your kid's name, and it's personalized. Some of them will be generally happy Diwali with the diya and everything. It's like this person would have sent it to 1,000 people or everybody in his network, right? So that's what I'm talking about, right? The more you customize, the more you personalize, the other person feels good about it. The other person feels that you've taken an effort to go through the profile, understand what that person does, then put out a customized message, which is talking about the value proposition and talking about, how, you could add value. And that leads to this thing. And from an approach perspective, right, as I said, right, you could have different things. And in the previous slide, I was sharing with you how we reached out to one of the CHROs of the bank asking for counsel, right? And people are very happy to take out time to, just say, sir, I'm new to this industry, I'm new to this perspective, I'm new to this thing, but you are a veteran here. Spending half an hour with you will help me get to understand your business better and other things, right? Your industry better. And I'll be grateful if you could do that. It'll do great to my professional growth and my professional journey. I don't think senior leaders would mind doing that. So the whole thing of what I'm saying is social selling can be approached in this way, right? You're not even selling to that person. You're just going. And when you go, when you chat, you will obviously have some chat here and there about personal lives. The person will be curious to know which company you work, what problems you solve. It could, maybe not in that conversation, but two conversations down the line, it could lead to a business conversation as well. But see the way you would have approached it, counsel to knowing to know you, building that trust, leading to maybe a business outcome later on. But you didn't approach it from. So that's what I'm saying. You can approach it in different ways. There is no one size fits all, right? The process may be very similar, but there may be small variations here and there. So this is what I would say are some of the best practices in terms of social selling, which I have personally seen and experienced in my years since I've got access to. And the other platform also, by the way, these updates which you're seeing on this page, at least they're not from LinkedIn, they're put it on Twitter. So I've also realized that Twitter also is a very is a great platform. Twitter is also a platform where a lot of leaders, in my experience, I've seen HR leaders to be very active, at least on LinkedIn. So in case any one of you are selling in the HR space, in the HR tech space, then leverage LinkedIn and Twitter effectively, because most likely your leaders will be on both the platforms. So you can engage them on both the platforms. In some personas, maybe the CIOs, CMOs, or some other personas, maybe they may not be so active, right? I'm not saying for everybody, but obviously because Twitter doesn't have everybody who's there on LinkedIn, right? So the subset in that sense reduces. So LinkedIn has to be the primary source for social selling for you. But if you see that your personas are or people whom you want to engage to do exist on Twitter, I would highly recommend that have a two platform strategy where you are posting updates and engaging people across both of these platforms, right? And with that, I think I would come to the end of it, where I would say that the world is evolving. There is so much change which is happening, right? Priorities, the way we look at things, the way we conduct business, everything is changing. But the ones who are willing to adapt, willing to innovate, and embrace right new approaches, which in this case is social selling, right? I feel that those people are poised for greater success, right? All of you would be successful. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if you want more success than what you are getting today, please have social selling as an additional means of selling, if I may say, or engaging your customers or prospects. You would see value coming out of it, right? It may not come on day one. Just be persistent. I can assure you in a quarter, you'll start seeing success. By the end of the year, you would have seen so much of success that you, just like me, will never be able to look back again, right? And you will be the one who would be evangelizing and preaching social selling to people in your network or anybody else outside your network as well, right? That's the power of social selling.